Good morning. Here we are again with Tuesday Talk with EY, featuring my friend Val here from Total Nutrition again.
How you doing?
And today we're going to be talking about fuel on the go, how to really kind of put together your meals, how to plan things out, how to really just eliminate the excuses of why we're not eating healthy. And last week, we spoke about strategic eating, what that means as far as planning your meals around your workout schedule, what types of foods to eat when, so that way you're maximizing your output throughout the day for not only your work day, but your workouts later on as well. And then today, we're just going to kind of dive in a little bit deeper to that concept and really also outline a good way to just really plan your day out better, how to prepare going into the week, not just thinking about the one day. And really, like I said before, just eliminating the excuses of why it is that maybe we don't eat healthy on a consistent basis. And I say this, I've struggled with this in the past, and there's certain days it's harder for me as well, even though I'm very focused on it. I'm sure you deal with it as well.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. So and obviously, Val competes. He's a competitive bodybuilder. I compete in jiu-jitsu tournaments, and even still, with being very, very mindful of what it is that we're eating, we still have struggles from day to day, and maybe we're not preparing all the time. So I don't want this to come across as like a preaching thing necessarily, but we want to call it what it is. If you're not preparing to be healthy, it's much harder to, if you're out there on the go all the time, because you have a family life, you have a busy work schedule. I'm out doing sales all day in my car, so then I have to be more focused on what it is that I'm eating and how I'm going to prepare it, so that way I can eat healthier on a daily basis and not have the excuse of, well, I just don't have time. So, that's what we want to dive into. So first thing I want to kind of do is identify what are the major things that you hear when people come and talk to you about, hey, I want to make a change, I want to eat healthier, I want to be leaner, but here's my struggles, or here's what I'm going through. What is it that you hear on a consistent basis?
The number one excuse, at least that I hear, and not only through the doors, but just in conversation in general, is that I don't have enough time. It's time, whether it be with your children, whether it be with your work, whether it be whatever it is, whatever the excuse you have, it always comes down to time. And I believe right now what we were talking about as well, as far as preparing for that, and I'm guilty as well, but preparing for the times that you need to involve more nutrition aspects, being mindful of what you can do to prepare yourself so that you have more time to be mindful of these things. Preparing your food the night before, or even in the morning, will give you more time during that day, so that you're not having to prepare that during the day.
Sure. So
just being prepared obviously just opens up more time for the day. So being prepared actually gives you more time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm assuming, because this is things that I deal with when I talk to even sometimes my friends and family, but do you kind of walk somebody through a day to help, like ask them what they do throughout their day to see where you can free up some time for them?
So my approach with myself, and what helps when I talk to people about preparing and having this strategic approach, is finding out when their workout is, when it is that they're going to ask their body to basically perform, when is it they're going to need this optimum level of nutrition, when is it that they're going to have to involve more of these aspects that we have that are going to support proper nutrition and health. So you find out what it is, that catalyst, and then you prepare around it. Basically involve your time around that, and make sure that you're putting enough effort in that around that catalyst, so that it supports best that training session.
Okay. Yeah. So like we talked about last week, if you're going to work out in the morning, first thing in the morning, figuring out ways to prep a meal.
Yeah.
So you work out in the morning, right?
Recently, yes. It varies from time to time now, because of my strategy towards what my goal is, and that's the USA's this July. It's more conducive to how I want to eat in the morning and train in the morning. So training in the morning and eating in the morning just best supports my goal for what I want to accomplish in July.
Sure. So what's a good, I guess, would be a pre and then maybe a post-workout meal? And by the way, when we say meal, we just talked about this, we don't mean a sit-down Thanksgiving Day 5-course meal. We're just talking about getting nutrients to your body to perform throughout a workout or just to perform throughout the day. So that being said, what's a good pre-workout meal before you go into a workout, and then how long before the workout do you try to eat?
So depending on what you're asking your body to do, for myself personally, I'm doing weight training in the morning. So my weight training is best supported by a high glycemic carbohydrate. High glycemic just means something that the body can process or absorb very efficiently or easily.
That's energy.
Energy. We have to start thinking in terms of these macronutrients, in terms of what they provide for us and when they can provide that sort of nutrient factor for us. High glycemic carbohydrates are very rapid sources of energy, like a white rice, even a banana for that matter, a white potato. I usually do about a half a cup, 3/4 cup, sometimes a full cup of white jasmine rice with my protein, whether it be 6-8 ounces, depending on how I want to support my training. So a high glycemic carbohydrate with my protein about 35, maybe 40 minutes before I train. If I want to be aggressive about that training session, I may do an intro or post-workout shake, which means it's a protein shake involved with some carbohydrates in the middle or even during my training session. After my training session, within about a 45, maybe an hour window, I'll do the same exact meal that I did before.
Okay. So you want to restore the glycogen, right?
Yes.
Your body.
Yeah.
Also get that protein, so your body, your muscles can utilize the protein, break it down to aminos,
Yep.
and then build muscle on top of that. Whether it's bulk muscle or even lean muscle, if that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
Okay.
And mind you, this approach is just particular to how I train.
Sure.
So if it's something that you want to come in and talk about your lifestyle, if it's something that there's a particular training style, I know that jiu-jitsu requires a lot more stamina, a lot more endurance. Thereby, we would feed it much more differently.
Yeah, and for me personally, and all this being said, these are kind of, we want to give you a general guideline of how to look at food a little bit differently as fuel, look at it as nutrients for your body, for what you want to accomplish your goals, specific goals.
Yeah.
But also listen to your body. My body may process foods differently than your body with the exact same workout. Therefore, I may take in maybe less carbohydrates or less proteins because the way it makes me feel, and then afterwards maybe fuel a little bit more.
That's a terrific point. That's an excellent point. Body composition, body type, and these are all things that you have to look into before you just start piling food into yourself.
Yeah.
How much muscle your body composition is holding, how much fat your body is holding, your body type. These are all things. These are all details that you want to understand before you start basically developing an approach or a strategy.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. Because I learned fairly recently, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, how much body type really kind of comes into play. And for those of you who don't know what we mean by body type, obviously, we all look at different people. You see different body types, but there's kind of 3 main body types. Everyone's usually a combination, right, of 2 typically. And so you have your ectomorphic body type, which are the long, lean people who don't. You see them out there, they eat whatever they want and they don't gain a pound. Well, it doesn't mean that they're healthy. It just means that their body has trouble putting on weight. And that goes for muscle as well. They try to bulk up, and it's very difficult for them. You have your endomorphic, which is kind of what I am on one half, is more of like a pear shape. You carry maybe more, it's easy to gain fat, but they can also gain muscle fairly easily as well if they're eating the right foods and working out. But I usually will carry more body fat within my midsection. And then you have your mesomorphic, which most people if you look like what an action figure looks like. Some people don't work out at all, and they just look like they work out every day. And that's, whatever you're blessed with, and you have to figure out what that body type is. I'm kind of a endo-mesomorph. If anything, I can put on muscle pretty quickly, but I can also put on fat if I'm eating the wrong foods.
Right.
So whatever your body type is, figuring out what that is, and then certain foods will fuel your body differently within that body type, right?
That's exactly. Yeah.
And then able to just kind of help you perform overall.
That's it.
Okay.
Good explanation. I like that.
So time, you hear time is one of the
that's
major.
the biggest one. I don't have enough time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to feel that way myself personally, and then what I realized is I was watching a lot of TV, and that's not necessary to my overall health. And so I started to take away time from TV or take away time from other I call them nonsense things, but things that weren't conducive to reaching my goals.
Right.
And whether it was just kind of being lazy around the house, or even with some of my workouts, I was working out hard for the hour and a half I was working out, maybe working out hard 20, 25 minutes. So the other time was being wasted with rest time, and I wasn't planning out very well. Maybe I'd look at my phone and look at a couple of things online and things like that, get distracted.
Yeah.
So I started to realize I have more time available than what I really thought that I did. So that's a big part of it too, right? Is just really looking at what you're doing throughout your day,
Yep.
and saying, okay, do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? Right? We have to work.
Right.
We have to eat. We have to sleep. Take care of our families and things. But other than that, what are we doing?
Isolating what is very important as opposed to what you might be able to basically trimming that fat, so to speak. Getting rid of the things that might not be so, let's just say, important, or at least might not be directly involved to what your purpose is for that day as far as nutrition. As you said, sitting around on your phone might could involve 15, 20 minutes of your day, which that's how long it takes me to make 5 meals for myself. I can make 5 meals, and again, it's not these 7-course meals. I plan strategically where I'm cooking a certain amount of food that will allow me to have this many meals per day, and I'm cooking it so that I can be efficient with this, and it takes me no more than 20 minutes in the morning to prepare my 5-6 meals for the day.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Looking at you, if you know exactly this is how long it takes you to do it, and obviously you've done it a while, you've had some practice. Doesn't mean the first time you do it, you're going to be that efficient. But that's where you need to start looking towards, hey, look, I have this 15 minutes I've freed up throughout the day.
Yeah.
How am I going to utilize this 15 minutes to my goals of being more healthy?
Right.
Whether it's meal prep, whether it's getting up, you can get an awesome 15-minute workout in if you push yourself hard enough with a square on your living room floor of 6x6
Absolutely.
body weight stuff.
Yeah.
So time is I hear that a lot too. It's time.
Yeah,
and
I think it's interesting too that you talk about just the particular in training and exercising and finding somewhere to do this at home, just as well as if you find the time to do something like this with your food, you'll notice that you can start to be a little bit more creative with how you can create that time. Strategy in the gym, strategy at home, a few push-ups, some sit-ups, some dips, some tricep dips at home. You have done a full, basically an upper body workout that you don't even have to take the time to get in your car, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, figure out what machine you're going to do. You've done a 30-minute workout at your home that might have taken about an hour and a half any other time if you decided you need to go to the gym. I need to find what machine I'm on, right? Well, just as well as your food. If you've got your food done already, and it took me 20 minutes, whereas if I hadn't done that, I would have had to have stopped my day, prepared that certain amount of food for that particular meal. That's 10 minutes right there. So I'm doing 5 or 6 meals. I've already taken an hour out of my day, whereas if I was just prepared, I would have only done maybe 20 minutes of preparation.
Yep, exactly. That's such a great point, because I think if we put it in our heads that I can't eat healthy because of this reason, and I'm not living a healthy lifestyle because of that reason, we've already decided to fail. We've already decided that it's not important enough to make the change.
Yeah.
And look, call it what it is. I can make excuses. I'm very busy. I have a full-time job, family, all hobbies, all these things. I can make any excuse I want if I really, really put my mind to it. But I've decided to go the other way and say, okay, where can I make time? And like you said, the more you start doing it, the more you'll realize, you'll get more creative. Wow, I just freed up 15, 20 minutes. How well, I can find another 15, 20 minutes somewhere. And the next thing you know, you're freeing up an hour or an hour and a half. And then as you get more into it, you start to, it becomes fun. This becomes your new hobby.
Yeah, it's almost a challenge so that you can find ways to get these things done in these allotted times. Yeah. I've done it so many times where I defeat myself before I get to the gym. Oh, I've got to get this done. How am I going to get this done? I don't have enough time. But what I'll do is I'll make sure that I'm at least in a position in the gym where I can involve myself with these machines and incorporate a different exercise that might involve the same sort of muscle groups.
Yeah, absolutely. For me personally, it's I've figured out ways to kind of be creative in the sense of even, I guess, multitasking. while I'm making dinner, I'll get in a set of push-ups.
Yep.
You know, so like if something's simmering on the stove or something's baking, if I'm gonna bake salmon like I did the other night, bake salmon, it takes 15-20 minutes to bake.
Yeah.
If that 15-20 minutes I'm sitting on the couch doing nothing, that's time and energy I can be putting towards a workout.
100%.
And I did. I'll do a set of push-ups. I'll do maybe you do 2 or 3 different exercises: push-ups, squats, and lunges, right, to get a full body workout. And you do it with less rest in between. Now you're getting cardio workout as well.
Right.
You get done with a whole set. You're breathing heavy. Your heart's pumping real fast. I mean, these are all great things.
Yeah.
And look, everybody's goals are not your goals. Right. Not everybody's goals are my goals to be the absolute optimum, to compete at a high level in whatever we're competing in. But it doesn't mean you can't start taking these steps.
Right.
You don't have to be huge, bulky. You don't have to be super ripped and lean, but be healthier overall.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I think there's a stigma with vanity, right? Where people think, well, people who work out all the time, you know, they only care about how they look and and the workouts. That's all they care about. That's probably the furthest from the truth.
That has shifted so much from just when I started to, with fitness nutrition about 10 years ago. That mentality, that ideology has shifted so much now, even with myself.
Sure.
You know, I'm guilty. When I first started this let's just call it a journey about what I wanted with fitness and nutrition. I want to be a bodybuilder, the biggest, baddest guy out there, right? I'm 47 years old now. That's no longer a goal of mine, not only because I realize where I am at in life as far as age, but I know that I want to be more functional, I want to be more healthy, I want longevity.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because, you know, we've talked about in the past too, you know, as we get older and, you know, you have kids and your kids have kids, I mean, I want to be active. I want to be out doing things. And I'm sure you've seen people in their 60s, 70s, 80s that still eat right. You know, they don't smoke, they don't drink too often. And they're very active. They move around, whether it's a workout or they go for long walks, they go hiking, biking, whatever it is that they're into. They look phenomenal, and they can do all the things that they want to do. You know, I like traveling. If I'm going to travel, there's going to be a lot of walking around when you go travel somewhere, and I want to experience all that. I don't want to be stuck in my hotel room like, I can't get out of bed. I don't have the energy. It's too much work. So. One of the other major things that I hear all the time, and I just had this conversation with a coworker this last weekend, that another big obstacle is it's too expensive to be healthy. Healthy food is just too expensive. You hear that?
I hear it. It's a considerable. It's a high excuse. It's high on that list for sure.
Yeah, and what I explained to him, and this is something that's worked for me, and you can kind of give me your thoughts about maybe what's worked for you or what you tell some of your clients is. I told him I asked him, first of all, what do you mean by too expensive? Have you done a cost analysis of healthy versus non-healthy foods? Right. And by the way, when I ask people that question, the answer is 99% no, they've never done a cost analysis. The perception is more, because these bananas cost more than this, fruit roll-up, right? So the perception is it costs more. Or if they go to a greens and proteins for lunch, well, that's more expensive than if I go to the dollar menu at McDonald's. Well, yeah, you're not comparing. First of all, you go to the dollar menu. That's not even food.
It's not nutrients.
It's not nutrients. Your body, it's all. It's like putting sludge into your car for gasoline, expecting it to run.
Think of it in terms of that way. How you're paying money for something that does provide you with no sustenance, as opposed to something that has a degree of sustenance, and you're trying to. Basically, the apples and oranges thing.
Yeah.
You cannot compare the two.
Correct. But I think it's more perception than anything. I shouldn't say no one, but most people don't do a cost analysis.
No.
And a basic, look, I'm not asking anybody to do some, crazy math or whatever, but if you just looked at it basically, most people do have, let's call it a budget for what they spend on food, groceries, throughout the month, right? Or every paycheck. Whatever that dollar amount is, if it's $50 a paycheck, if it's $100, or if it's $400, whatever it is, I don't know, whatever your budget is for each individual person, that's what your budget is for food, then that's how you plan your meals. That's how you plan when you go to the grocery store. Right. That's how you plan, if you're gonna go, we have, my family, we have to budget for going out, right? If we're gonna go out once a month and have a time out in the town, wherever we're gonna do, we budget for that, and that, within that budget, decides where we're gonna go eat.
Right.
So whether it's a greens and proteins, or we're gonna go to, the Brazilian steakhouse or something like that, whatever it is, we have to plan that way, and that's what I'm talking about. find out what your budget is. If it's $100 a paycheck, and instead of spending that $100 on McDonald's, on fruit roll-ups, on hamburger helper type meals and things like that, find the foods and find deals. There's always deals at the grocery store. Find where you can get the lean ground turkey instead of getting something else. Where you're getting, like I'll get the frozen chicken tenders. So all I have to do is thaw them out and bake them. Right? And that goes back into scheduling the time for doing that as well. But find those deals and find ways that you can make big portions of meals, not just one meal for one day. Big portions of meals, and then plan your meals accordingly based off of what your budget is and what you've planned for that thing.
You'd be surprised how much you can buy with that budget that you've done with an analysis on how much you can feed yourself with the money that you've done outside of the grocery store. Do some simple math. I mean, if you just look at convenience of going to, like, say, a fast food restaurant, and I'm using that kind of loosely because not all of us do that, but just in terms of what you could spend at greens and proteins, even for that matter, you've got about $8 to $10 to $12 in a meal, whereas you could cut that into a third if you just prepared it, if you just went to the grocery store and bought the food to make it so that you could have that meal prepared for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's at the beginning, it does take more time. It does take more thinking ahead and planning. It does take you out of your comfort zone. But anything worth doing, any goal that you're going to have in life, it doesn't have to be health and fitness. It could be anything. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone.
You make the time.
You make the time.
You make the time.
Yeah, and if you decide you're not going to, if you decide it's too hard, it's too much work, and by the way, by not taking action, you are deciding that it's not worth the effort. Okay, if that's what you're deciding, look, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're a weak person. It doesn't mean anything. All it means that you've decided that you're going to accept the consequences of that decision. I mean, that's what it is. I have people that I love in my life, family and friends, that have decided this is the lifestyle they want to live. And look, I don't preach to them. I don't look down upon them. I hug them every time I see them. I give them kisses. I love them, and we spend time together, and it's great, right? That's their life and their journey. Now, if they ask me, what's my opinion on this, the way that they're living their life, or hey, how do I eat healthier, or how do I plan better? It looks like you're doing this and you're doing that. Then I'll offer my honest opinion, and I will flat out tell them, if you're asking me because you really want to know and you want my help, I'll tell you. If you're asking me just to hear me talk and you're not going to implement anything, well, let's talk about something else, because it's not a real conversation that we're having. If you're going to take action and you're going to set the time and make the decision to be healthier, then I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about it. And obviously you have a passion for it.
These are times where you can actually have the resources. I mean, the internet is just full of resources. Of course, you could come to a store like this here where you could cross-reference anything, especially with people like myself, even with Eric, where we have the experience, where we've gone through some of these nutrition plans, we've gone through some of these diet plans. I can give you my advice on what I believe in, and how that would work for you. It's all available. All these resources are here for you.
And quite honestly, this podcast, this is a resource. This is something, hopefully this can be a catalyst if somebody's listening and saying, you know what, I do make excuses for time. I do make excuses that I don't have the money, but yet you're still spending money on food. It's not like you're not eating, you're not spending money on food. You're just spending money on the wrong foods.
Exactly.
You know, and that's really what I want to get across is we can all make excuses, and this is kind of the third thing that I want to talk about is it's all about the mind. What's your mindset? If your mindset is already, and you hear people, you start giving advice, and what do they tell you? That's it. There's always something behind, but this, but that, but this. When you start thinking that, it's already defeated. You have to get out of that mindset. It's a must. Having yourself defeated before you even start is just, like you said, it's maybe just not that time for you. And that's okay. It's perfectly fine. Find the time that's going to best activate your purpose for that intention, and then go with it. But if it's not that time, don't fight it. Don't try to make more excuses. Just let it go and let it be. And then find ways
that you can actually involve yourself around people that have the similar mindset.
Yeah.
These are places and resources that you can find solutions.
Yeah.
Solutions.
Yeah, because that's it. That's what it's all about, finding solutions. But the excuse thing is I believe is what, like you said, it's the wrong mindset. I call it a broken mindset, but it's the wrong mindset to have already decided I have a built-in excuse because of my lifestyle, because of my circumstance.
Yeah.
This is why I'm not healthy, and it's nonsense. You know, I mean, I personally like finding ways to overcome the obstacles.
Yeah.
I like finding ways to decide that, you know, this is what I'm up against. This is the challenge. This is the roadblock, kind of, so to speak, in my way. But here's how I'm going to get around it. And if that's the mindset that you have, if that's what you're deciding to do, then that's going to propel you to get to that next level. And it doesn't mean you have to do everything all at once.
Yeah.
You can choose one thing.
Yeah.
I've told a lot of people, you know, and look, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not professional by any stretch of the imagination. But if I know someone who drinks a lot of soda, I said, look, just start with this. Just stop drinking soda.
That's it,
Just drink water. This is all I drink is coffee and water.
Yeah.
Every so often, if I go out with some friends, you know, I'll have a couple of drinks. Don't stop living your life.
Right.
But almost throughout the day, especially living in Las Vegas, it's hot. I don't drink soda. I haven't had it in so long. The taste of it would just, it's hard. It's really hard. So I just don't do it. But just, if you do one thing, stop doing this. Or maybe there's a certain type of food that you just need to cut out throughout your life. Maybe it's, I'm going to still eat the way I'm eating because that's the hardest part for me, but I'm going to do...
Reducing it.
Yeah, reducing it. Maybe this is just the portion size.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to pick 3 exercises and I'm going to do this 3 times a week. That's how I'm going to start.
That's it.
And for me, when I start working out consistently, it actually makes my mind say, I need to eat better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your body is telling you,
Yeah.
feed me better.
Exactly.
That's exactly what's happening. Yeah.
So sometimes for me, like that was when I turned everything around, you know, a few years ago, that was the catalyst. Was starting to work out first, and then the eating right kind of started coming second, and then I kind of dived more deeply into that. And look, like Val said, we live in the best age of all time where we have the internet at our fingertips at all times. The back in the 80s, you had to go, you know, and search out a pro or go to the library, to the card catalog.
You talk to somebody about what an encyclopedia is.
Yeah.
They're like, what?
Yeah, and even then,
What is that?
that information was years old based off of when they published it.
Right.
So I mean, who knows? Now you can have up-to-date, brand new. If there's a brand new study today, you can have that
Within
information.
Within hours.
You can have that information. Utilize it. It's there. We all carry around cell phones.
Yep.
I mean, I know you do. That's why we're all taking up our time with nonsense on our cell
So you're
phones.
watching this.
Yeah. But look at your cell phone and start looking up whether you're in line somewhere. If you're at the DMV or you have to wait for 5, 10, 15